In 2025, USA Pickleball made a series of significant rule changes that are set to redefine how the sport is played, viewed, and understood. These changes aim to bring clarity, improve the flow of the game, and standardize key elements across competitive play. Here is a breakdown of the most notable changes. Number 1. Clarification of the act of volleying. What changed? The definition of the act of volleying has been updated to provide more clarity on when a fault occurs. Previously, the act of volleying included the swing of the paddle itself, which led to confusion regarding whether a fault had occurred if the player's paddle touched the non-volley zone (NVZ) during or after the volley. This created situations where players were penalized even if the paddle didn't contact the ball in the NVZ area. New rule: the act of volleying now begins when the ball is struck by the player and ends when the player's momentum stops. If a player's paddle touches the NVZ during the volleying motion, but after the ball has been struck, it is no longer considered a fault. Impact: this change allows for more fluid movement and less risk of being penalized for incidental contact with the NVZ during a volley. Players now have more freedom to move, making the game more dynamic without compromising on the integrity of the rules. Number 2. Introduction of doubles rally scoring provisional. What changed? A significant shift in how games are scored in doubles matches is being tested in 2025 with the introduction of rally scoring. Traditionally, Pickleball has used side-out scoring, where only the serving team can score a point. With rally scoring, either team can score on any point, regardless of which team served. New rule: in the doubles rally scoring format, only one server serves at the beginning of the game or after a side out. The partner does not serve in this format. The server alternates sides after each point, and the server continues to serve until a fault is committed. This format is currently provisional and will be evaluated after a year of use to determine if it should become a permanent rule. Impact: this change aims to simplify the scoring system, reduce the overall duration of games, and make matches more exciting and faster paced. It allows for more dynamic and competitive gameplay, especially in recreational and amateur settings, where players are often looking for more straightforward scoring methods. Number 3. Revision of line call responsibilities. What changed? One of the areas of confusion in pickleball has been the responsibility of making line calls. In previous years, the responsibility for calling the lines was unclear in certain situations, especially when it came to non-volley zone faults or service foot faults. New rule: players are now clearly responsible for all line calls on their side of the court. This includes not only boundary calls, but also non-volley zone (NVZ) faults and service foot faults. This applies to both recreational and competitive play, ensuring that players are actively engaged in maintaining the integrity of the game by making accurate calls. Impact: this rule emphasizes the importance of honesty and fairness, as players are directly responsible for maintaining the integrity of the match. It improves the pace of the game by reducing the reliance on referees to make all the line calls, particularly in less formal settings. Number 4. Expanded definition of a rally. What changed? The definition of a rally, which refers to the exchange of shots between players, has been expanded in the new rulebook. The previous definition was somewhat narrow and didn't fully account for situations where the play might be interrupted or affected by a valid hindrance. New rule: a rally is defined as continuous play that begins after the serve and ends when a fault occurs, or a valid hinder is called. The rule now includes scenarios where play may be stopped due to a hindrance, such as an obstruction or a distraction, but ensures that the rally is still considered to have occurred. Impact: this revision brings more clarity to situations where play may be stopped for reasons other than a point being won or lost. It helps eliminate confusion during contested rallies where a player might claim a fault due to an unexpected distraction or obstruction. Clarification on distractions. What changed? The issue of distractions has long been a gray area in pickleball, particularly when players use non-standard behaviors or gestures to disrupt their opponent's concentration. New rule: the definition of a distraction has been updated to include physical actions that are not common to the flow of the game and that interfere with an opponent's ability to hit the ball or concentrate on the point. Examples of distractions now include loud noises, stomping of feet, waving the paddle in a distracting manner, or otherwise doing anything that disrupts the opponent's concentration or ability to focus on the game. Impact: This rule provides greater clarity on what constitutes unsportsmanlike behavior and ensures that players can compete without fear of being unfairly distracted by opponents. It also adds an element of fairness to the game, as players are expected to focus on the game rather than engaging in antics designed to unnerve their opponent. Number 6. Service rules. Adjusted foot faults. What changed? The rules governing service foot faults have been clarified to reduce confusion about how much space players are allowed between their feet and the baseline when serving. New rule: the player's feet must remain behind the baseline at the moment of serving. Both feet must be on or behind the baseline during the serve, with no part of the foot touching the line. A player's back foot can now cross the baseline after striking the ball, but the front foot must remain behind the baseline until the ball is served. Impact: this adjustment brings more consistency in service violations, reducing the number of errors called during high-pressure moments of a match. It ensures that players don't gain an unfair advantage by stepping over the line at the moment of service. Number 7. No volley zone NVZ and momentum rule. What changed? One of the most critical areas of confusion in pickleball has been the interpretation of how players can enter the non-volley zone NVZ and what constitutes a fault. Previously, players were often penalized if their momentum carried them into the NVZ after they had struck the ball, even if it was not intentional. This led to frustration and inconsistency in officiating. New rule: players are now allowed to enter the NVZ as long as they do not volley the ball while inside it. However, if a player enters the NVZ after a volley and their momentum carries them into the zone, the momentum rule will apply. Momentum rule: if a player's body or any part of it enters the NVZ after striking a volley, it is not considered a fault unless their momentum from the volley causes them to make contact with the NVZ itself. Impact: this change allows players to move freely and naturally without worrying about being penalized for slight missteps into the NVZ, as long as they are not actively volleying the ball. It eliminates some of the confusion around foot faults related to entering the NVZ and offers a more forgiving and logical approach to how momentum affects player movement. The rule aims to preserve the integrity of the game by ensuring players are penalized only for intentional actions or real violations, not unintentional momentum carryover. The new rules of pickleball for 2025 reflect an evolution of the sport designed to simplify the gameplay, improve fairness, and encourage consistent competition across all levels. The introduction of rally scoring, expanded rally definitions, and clearer lines on distractions and service rules are all steps toward making pickleball a more streamlined and enjoyable sport for players and spectators alike. These changes are aimed at making the game more accessible, maintaining its competitive edge, and ensuring that players from beginners to professionals can all enjoy the sport without unnecessary confusion. As with any sport, the true test will come from the players themselves. The implementation of these rules will be closely watched, and feedback will likely shape future revisions. If you're a player, be sure to stay informed on these updates and understand how they might impact your style of play. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts or any questions you have.